All right, let's get some analysis from Sam Rolland, who's an economist at Econometrix. Sam, let's put this into context with the past experience of ours. How were businesses actually affected during the 2008 rolling blackouts?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me on. I think, as you mentioned it, if we think just back to a couple of months ago and the recent investment summit by Cyril Ramaphosa, the strong message coming out of that was that South Africa was open for business and ready to sort of pick up our growth prospects and pick up the pace of our economic growth substantially. Well, between this and GDP coming out tomorrow, and it is, load shedding to this degree is not a great way to start our investment drive, I would say.
Yeah, it definitely is. And of course, it points to the way forward. And looking at businesses as a whole, how much money do they actually lose when they when they can't operate?
Well, I mean, I think this depends on a business-to-business case on terms of how much they're losing. I think we need to consider that, especially as we move towards the end of the year. And if you think of, businesses, small businesses and their employees, when they can't produce, they can't unfortunately pay their employees, and that's going to make for quite a dull Christmas. But in the context of the investment drive, the danger with this is, well, when companies look to expand their activities, to replace capital equipment, they like to know that the lights are going to stay on, and they like to know that their production targets will be met, at least in terms of their forecasts on an electricity point of view. So when we're trying to attract new investment, it's a certainly dangerous thing that investors are going to look at this and they're going to say, well, how are we going to meet our production targets if we don't have a reliable electricity supply? And I believe that's going to negatively affect a lot of decisions to invest in the country from foreign investors. And at least on the domestic front, many domestic investors will return to the sort of wait and see pattern that we saw under the previous administration that we've seen so much of lately.
Yeah, and ratings agencies are already concerned about Eskom overall. This, no doubt, puts even more pressure on the utility. It's come out saying that we'll have to deal with these rolling blackouts up until March next year. Confidence in this power utility, no doubt, at an all-time low.
I agree. I think if you look at what has come out of Eskom lately, I mean, the statement that they're a debt-driven entity, if the company is relying on debt because they're unable to meet to cover their current debt servicing costs from their operating activities, it means that they have to borrow more, and that's a very unsustainable path to find themselves in. And the other thing, of course, to realize about our economy is we aren't growing at 4-5+%, where we're expanding so rapidly that Eskom hasn't been able to plan adequately to meet our production goals. We're growing below 1%, and we're likely to exit a technical recession. But we've been in a technical recession for the whole of 2018 thus far. So, when you're dealing with a stagnant economy where electricity demand isn't as strong, and Eskom can't really keep the lights on now, sure, they say it's till March of next year, but if economic growth does pick up, well, is this likely to be a structural problem for the next 5 years is something I would like to know.
All right, thank you so much for your time and your insight. We appreciate it. That was